Hmm. Welcome, everyone, and happy Navaratri. Today is the ninth day of our 9-day celebration of the goddess. And right now, at this point in Navaratri, we're celebrating Saraswati. And she's known as the goddess of the arts and creativity and science and learning. And her name translates to she who has flow. And as a yogi, I feel like that's the work that I'm doing inside is to find that flow. You know, we all know the feeling of like being sort of rigid and attached to something and how that can be really painful. And how good it can feel when we're um, allowing things to come and go and just in that space of being in the flow. And so that's really what I've been feeling with this Navaratri. And it kind of reminded me of if you've ever watched Star Trek and they like beam up and down from the ships and they turn into light and you can just see the light traveling. I sometimes use that visualization to like let go of the hard parts in me, let go of the things that are stuck and just turn into something more dynamic and evolving and changing. So I invite you to open up to that idea that's so real, that we really are energy. We're constantly in this flow, and we can connect to it through surrendering our attachments and feeling our breath and having fun as we move. So with that, please turn to your right. Oh, and I forgot to mention, if you want to spread a blanket out, you're welcome to. This has been a really nice way to just have some sweet, nourishing, tactile feedback on the ground, as well as it prevents you from being able to push too hard and grip too much in poses, which actually creates a lot more core strength. So the superficial muscles don't just turn on and overactivate. So I invite you to try it. And then please come onto your back and find a comfortable way to be here. I really enjoy having my knees bent and the soles of my feet on the ground so that my spine can lengthen, but do whatever feels supportive and natural for you. And if it feels comfortable, close the eyes, close the mouth, and begin by just feeling the sensation of the earth supporting you. If it's inviting, you're even welcome to let the hands drag along your blanket a little bit. It's kind of a cozy feeling. Find stillness. Try to observe the natural ebbing and flowing of the breath. And the breath is such a beautiful representation of the fact that we always have a flow inside. It's just part of the way we're wired. See if you can slow the breath down and smooth it out just by relaxing more, not by controlling anything or even changing it, just by softening. Start to notice where you naturally breathe. Sometimes it's more in the top of the chest or the belly. And I invite you to expand your awareness so that you can feel your lungs filling in all directions. So you can feel the back of the ribs gently opening into the earth, the bottom of the ribs all the way down towards the mid of the back. The sides of the ribs expanding left and right. And you don't have to increase this expansion or change it, but just try to feel that three-dimensionality of the breath. The diaphragm at the bottom of the rib cage, so right now it would be perpendicular to the earth. Feel that space pressing down towards the abdominal cavity as you inhale. And then gently rising up into the space of the rib cage as you exhale. And sometimes when you relax enough into the breath, there starts to be a natural pause. You don't have to hold your breath, but just notice if you can relax at the bottom of the exhale when you're completely empty. And then notice how the inhale just arrives and you don't have to take it. Well, just take a couple more breaths, and if you'd like, you can place your hands onto the belly so you can feel the gentle rising and falling of the abdomen, but make sure you have just as much awareness on the back half of that experience. The earth catching the back of the breath. And then let go of the breath. Trust that it will continue to flow in this effortless way, and imagine your perspective zooming out even more so that you can feel and observe your entire body. And just like that image in Star Trek of turning into beams of light, stretch your arms overhead, reach through the feet, and imagine the body not so solid. Let everything soften. Imagine the edges of your skin dissolving and your energy field spreading out even more. Relax the shoulders and the elbows and start to make really, really gentle circles with the feet. You don't want the muscles in the feet and the ankles to get tired here, so let it be really minimal, but feel the shifting around on the heels and start to notice how that translates up the calves, up the hamstrings. Perhaps you can feel gentle rotation on the back of the thigh bones, and how the connection into the thigh bones and hips changes as the thigh bones rotate. Try circling the opposite way, and if the feet are getting tired, move even slower and even smaller. And see if you can feel this traveling all the way up the spine, massaging the craniofascia, the thin layer of connective tissue outside of the skull. And then relax the feet completely. Let the whole body soften and melt. Slide the heels in towards the sits bones, kind of like a bridge pose setup. Let the arms melt down towards the heels and walk the feet nice and wide so they're ahead of the hips, feet mostly facing forward. Take a couple of pelvic tilts just to massage through the back of the hips, and notice how this affects the spine. So pelvis tilts forward and the low back arches, pelvis tips back and the low back flattens. And then let these movements get smaller and smaller so that the back isn't flattening nor arching. You're starting to find your natural spine, which is curved but very long and spacious. And I find when I start to lengthen through the spine in my low back, there's even extra space in the back of my neck. So notice if you start to feel that, and you can inch the occiput, the base of the skull, slightly away from the shoulders so the back of the neck can nicely lengthen without any strain. And the next time you find that middle ground, pause there and see if you can feel how in this neutral space the rib cage and the pelvis are parallel to one another. Another way to think about that is the diaphragm and the pelvic floor are parallel to one another. And all of our bodies are different, but in my body, to maintain this parallel, there is the gentlest amount of illumination in my deep core. So I'm not completely relaxed, but there's no strain, there's no tension. It's just a brightness, a support. See if you can notice a similar sensation in your deepest layers. And then without allowing the pelvis to tilt or the low back to overarch, play with unweighting the right foot, and should increase the sense of brightness in the core or work, or however you want to look at it. Set the foot down and try the other foot. And we're going to try this 2 different ways with our breath. Start by lifting on the exhale and then setting down on the inhale. This is sort of the usual way that we're used to doing things, probably exerting with the exhale. And then the next time the foot comes down, take 1 breath in and out. And then actually, before we move again, notice how as you hold your rib cage and your pelvis parallel, as you inhale, there's a little bit of restriction, right? The belly doesn't just freely expand because the core is slightly toned. We're going to use that pressure to help us lift the leg. So exhale naturally. And with your next inhale, allow the right leg to unweight. And then exhale, set it down. And then same thing on the other side. And you can move at your own pace, but try to feel how your inhale is creating a pressure between the rib cage and the pelvis, and that's providing a lot of support so that you can unweight the foot. The next time the foot comes down, relax completely. Stretch the legs out so the front of the hips can open. If you liked making those circles with the feet, you're welcome to, or you can just release completely. And if you're following along with the playlist, hit play on the first track. Make sure it's set to repeat. And then gently snow angel the arms overhead. Let the feet come wider so the body is more shaped like an X. Make sure the shoulders are soft. Sometimes when we reach up and overhead, we take our shoulders up into the ears. Imagine the space coming from below the shoulders, so the length and the lats and the top of the shoulders and neck stay nice and soft. And we're going to be rolling onto the left side. And if you were to roll right now, it would take a lot of work. You can even imagine like trying to roll a little bit. And instead of keeping our arms outstretched, play with starting to bring the elbows and knees towards the center, and notice how easy and effortless it is to roll onto the left side. And then we'll roll back onto our back by lengthening everything out into the shape we just came from. And then bring everything into the center to roll to the other side. And just like we did with our leg lifts, I want to try both breathing patterns here. So we'll start with the natural breathing pattern, which was the inhale to reach out and the exhale to curl up. And play with that on your own, just observing the sensations. And as we explore here, it's not a right or wrong, or good or bad. Both can teach us something. And so it's useful to explore both patterns. Try moving slower. That's going to wake up more deep core musculature. Imagine the body melting, and the melting is what allows you to change position, so there's no efforting. And the next time you come into your X position, pause there, and we'll reverse the breath. So take one full breath in and out. And then on your next inhale, start to roll over to the side, and notice how the inhale helps you feel expansive even though the front of the body is contracting. As you exhale and stretch everything out, notice how the exhale unites the limbs into the core. And continue on your own, letting this backwards breathing wake up your blind spots. Maybe there's a space in the back body that you don't usually get to feel, but as you inhale here in the curved position, something new opens. Wherever you are, try moving a little slower, a little smoother, and see if that helps you wake up more awareness. You can even close the eyes if you'd like. And imagine this practice helping to dissolve any areas of tension. Last night, we have a meditation program on Monday nights, and I had just a little bit of tightness between my shoulders, and I used this to help me unwind that tension. So I invite you to play with it. See if there's an area that you can free up. The next time you're on your left side, bring your right hand in front of you. Gently press into the right hand, coming into a Bharadvajasana setup. So the hips are over to the left-hand side of the heels. And I want to show you a hand positioning that we're going to be playing with later on today. So let the hands be mirror images, so the pinkies touch, index fingers all the way up to the thumb. And relax the shoulders. Actually, in fact, a precursor to this, sweep the arms back, letting the spine lengthen and feeling the shoulders melt down the back. And then keep that energy of being open and spacious as you bring the fingertips together in front of the navel. Gently press each thumb, or each digit, each thumb, why would I say that? All of your thumbs into one another, and notice if that can help you feel space on the front of the arm up into the pecs, and the back of the arm up into the triceps and the back of the shoulders. Can allow the elbows to float open, helping you feel more of that spaciousness. Observe the next couple of breaths and try to feel that sense of the shoulder girdle just resting atop the rib cage. Take one more breath here. And as long as we're here, let's open up the left side of the body. Try pushing the legs down into your mat, and notice how it allows the whole body to lengthen while keeping the rib cage integrated. Keep the shoulder soft. You can even bend the elbow a couple of times. And then paw the hands down. And just like we did before, go from the side all the way back onto the back, slowly stretching out, and then roll to the other side. Press into the hands, slowly coming up. I know many of you are facing away from me, but we're just going to do the same thing again. So first the arms sweep back, helping you open the chest and relax the shoulders. And then bring the fingertips together in front of the navel, soft elbows. Press each finger into its mirror and see if you can create a little space up through the arms, into the chest, into the back body. Feel the balance of the shoulders sitting atop the rib cage, connected in the front but very supported muscularly in the back. Just take a couple of breaths here. And if you feel like you're building any tension or you're even feeling surface muscles turn on, try to dial it back so that you could stay here for an hour and there wouldn't be any tension, any tightness. And then bring the left hand to the right knee. Float the right arm up and push the legs down into the earth to allow the whole right side to lengthen and reach open. Notice the quality of the inhale and exhale, and see if as you inhale, if you can let the body dissolve into those beams of light. And as you exhale, feel the whole body become very spacious, radiating brightly. And then release the hands back down, paw the arms out, and slowly melt back onto the back. We'll do this one more time on each side, and it's up to you if you gently paw up to seated or if you want to roll to the side and use momentum. That's totally fine as long as it feels fine. Going right into the side bend. We don't have to practice the hands anymore. We'll call those our flowing energy hands. And after you side bend on the second side, bring your hands over to the right, push down into the hands so you can draw the knees underneath you into a tabletop position. If you're parallel to me, the right side of the body should be closest to the screen. And Konalani Living Room folks, you're welcome to turn so that your right side is facing me, or if it's easier the way you are, that's great. Blocks may be helpful a little bit later, so if you would like to grab your blocks while you're close to the floor and it's easy, you can place 2 blocks to the short edge of the mat, and we'll come back to them a little bit later. So from tabletop position, just like we did on our back, take a moment to let the pelvis tilt forward and let the pelvis tilt back. And just notice how this changes the experience of the spine. We don't have the tactile feedback of the back of the floor. So see if you can use your awareness to feel what's actually happening in the spine. And then let those tips get smaller and smaller so you don't go forward as much or back as much. And as you control the tipping, you might start to notice a sense of brightness, a sense of spaciousness, some extra support of the deep core turning on. Then when you think you've found neutral, remember that's not a flat spine, it's just a nice long spine. Pause there and lower the forearms down to the floor so the elbows are underneath the shoulders. Relax the arms and then gently circle the shoulders around the elbows. As you do this, be vigilant with keeping the spine neutral, right? It's easy to forget what's happening below the shoulders, so see if you can zoom out. And feel the whole body supported. As you circle over the elbows here, just notice how the shifting of the weight changes where you feel sensation in the arms, in the shoulder socket. Let's change directions. And imagine this movement waking up all of the muscles in the hands, in the arms, in the shoulder complex, in the chest, in the space between the shoulder blades and the rib cage, in the space from the shoulders to the low back. And then come to center. Flatten the tops of the feet to the mat or a blanket, and with your neutral spine, gently start to glide the right foot back without moving anything else in the body. And then take a couple of those slides and notice the work required to maintain your core stability as the leg moves. The next time the leg reaches back, tuck the toes under. Cheat the left knee forward just a little bit, but push down into the left shin so you feel a lot of support. So the left knee is in front of the left hip. Push the knee down, awaken support in the hip socket, and then without letting the low back arch, hover the right leg and set it down. Take a few of these pulses, probably create a lot of warmth in the left leg as it has to work pretty hard to stabilize here. Perhaps you feel the right glutes and hamstrings working to lift the right leg. You don't want to feel anything in the low back besides the core turning on. And the next time the toes come down, pause there and gently press into the hands coming back to table. Shift your weight into your right hand and reach the left fingertips forward, up, and back, letting the whole left side of the body open. Take a few of these circles, nice and slow, trying to move as fluidly as possible. And imagine that this is massaging your left hip. So it's not so much about the rib cage rotating, but the rotation traveling all the way down into the left hip, the left IT band. The next time the hand comes down to the floor, start to thread the left hand behind the right hand, lowering the shoulder and the ear down. Press into the back of the left hand and then practice those fingertips from before, our flowing energy hands. So bring fingertips to touch, right hand on top of left, and gently press together and see if you can feel some space in the shoulders and more support in the back of the body. Stay right here or play with lifting the top leg. It can lift behind you. It can also gently rotate open as long as that feels okay in the left hip socket. This will be slightly destabilizing, but it helps us with our balance later. So see if you can relax into that feeling of, as we say in our level 1 training, embrace the wobbles. The next time the foot stays up, breathe, relax, notice the warmth in the glutes. Make sure you're not arching the low back. And then set the foot back down, right hand in front of the face, gently press into right hand, bring the left hand underneath the left shoulder, tuck the toes under and press the hips up and back into a staggered down dog. I know on the blanket you don't have a lot of traction, and that's good. It means you can't just muscle into it. You have to be a little sneakier, softer. Sway the hips from side to side. And then set left knee down, bring the right knee forward, and press the hips back to the heels. I've been enjoying a wide knee Bhaktasana in this sequence, but do whatever your body's craving. If the shoulders are tired, sometimes it's nice to bring the backs of the hands besides the feet or on top of the ankles or calves. And I always forget to switch the song, so you can go to the second track and make sure it is set to repeat. We'll take one more moment and then we'll do that on the other side. And so as you're ready, float up to tabletop. Take a moment to find your neutral spine and don't just assume it's where you think it is. Discover it. Be curious. Is neutral really neutral? Can I create more space through each vertebra? So there's no compression on the front of the vertebra, which happens if we overtuck. No compression on the back of the vertebra, which happens if we overarch. Lower the forearms. Take just 1 or 2 circles in each direction. And then find your center. Tops of feet are flat and start to glide the left foot back without moving anything else in the body. Take a couple foot glides and then tuck the toes under once the leg is extended. Allow the right knee to come forward a few inches, push down into the right shin, and notice how that illuminates the muscles in the back of the hip and in the hip socket. And then using that support, gently hover the left foot and set it down. And all of the lifting of the leg comes from the glutes. So you don't want to feel the low back doing this work. Usually that means the glutes aren't really doing it and you're just tipping your pelvis. The pelvis stays neutral here. It should feel hard. The next time the toes come down, gently bring the hands underneath the shoulders and reach the right hand forward, up, and back, circling open now through the right side. Make sure you're soft and delicate in the left hand, bringing extra weight into the pinky side of the left hand, little spring in the left elbow so there's no tension and no pressure. And the next time the right arm comes down, gently thread it behind the left hand, bringing arm and shoulder and right ear to the mat. Stack the left hand on top of the right, bringing the fingertips to touch. Gently squeeze each finger into its mirror to awaken the arm lines, especially in the back of the shoulders. And then start to push down into the right knee to hover the left foot or even stack the hips open, but only if that feels spacious in the right hip socket. You don't want to feel any pressure or pinching in the hip. Take a couple of these if it feels welcoming, or just stay down and breathe. There's lots of benefits to all of the positions. The next time the foot lifts, if you're choosing that option, pause and breathe and see if you can relax through the right side, even though it's working. Try not to muscle into it. Set the foot down, left hand in front of the face, push into it, coming into tabletop, tuck both toes under, but keep the stagger and push up and back into a staggered down dog. Option to sway the hips. Be soft and delicate. It's okay if the hips don't lift as high as you're used to. Just try to feel supported and spacious. And then start to walk. Let's walk the hands back towards the feet and eventually bring the right foot back so it's in line with the left foot. Bend the knees really, 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 really deeply so the body drapes over the thighs. If it's okay on the neck, you can let the head hang heavy, but if you feel a lot of sensation in the back of the neck, I would say that means it's too much neck flexion, in which case lengthen the head out a little bit. Shift the weight from foot to foot and notice how the hips start to sway from side to side. Imagine all of the hamstring muscles on the back of the thighs softening, all the muscles up the back of the body softening. And then anchor the big toes, shift the weight back into the heels, heavy hips reach down towards the heels, and slowly start to push the hips forward and notice how that stacks one vertebra at a time from the bottom up. Slowly start to extend the legs, coming all the way up to standing. Can you zoom out? Take a moment to arrive at standing. Notice if the feet are where the hips want them to be, and give yourself permission to adjust. Shift from side to side, letting the feet come underneath the hips. And then look down. Let the feet come to parallel, drawing the parallel lines from the second toe. And then anchor the big toes, just like we did before, and bring the weight back into the heels. Often, we're either too far forward or too far back. So try to use that cue of anchoring the big toes and rocking weight in the heels to help you find that sweet spot in the middle. Relax the arms down. Feel free to turn to face me if it's easier to follow. Start to shift the weight forward into the toes, letting the heels hover, and sweep the arms back so the whole front of the body lengthens. I'm going to turn to the side for just one moment. It's kind of like you're the bottom of a rocking chair. And then set the heels down. Start to reach the hips back as you sweep the arms forward, keeping a neutral spine. Don't let the pelvis tilt forward here. And then come back into our rocking chair pose. Oh, that's cool. And then you're a chair. It's perfect. You're a rocking chair and then you're a chair. That works out. And pulse here at your own pace and just start to notice the back line of the body. When you come onto the tiptoes and the heels lift, the whole back line of the body is shortening, and that's what's allowing you to lengthen through the front of the body. And then everything that's shortening when you're lifted starts to lengthen as the heels come down and the hips reach back. So take your time just letting your awareness float through the back of the body, and try to ungrip any tension or any sense of what these shapes should look like, and just feel that sense of everything being those beaming up lights, traveling, flowing, never stopping. The next time you come into chair pose, melt the body over the thighs, letting the whole back line lengthen. Keep the knees deeply bent. Let the spine lengthen and evenly curve. Anchor big toes, shift the weight back, and slow, dramatic roll up. If that doesn't feel good on the low back, you can always come up with a neutral spine, but if there's no pain, this is amazing for your core and your spinal mobility. And the next time, or once your head stacks, you can come onto the tiptoes and just pause there. Anchor the big toes. Notice if the heels and the ankles want to wobble out, and see if you can keep them stacked over the ball of the foot. And relax a little bit. And then set the heels down and start to walk towards your blocks. If you want to grab a sip of water, you're welcome to. Okay, and so we'll take our sequence from kneeling and we'll follow a very similar trajectory while balancing. So good thing that we got to go through it to pattern everything before we have to do it on one leg. So as you're ready, from Tadasana, take a moment to shift the weight forward and back. Big toe stays anchored. And then find the sweet spot in the middle. Relax the arms down. Start to scoop the air up, send the hips back, and then shift the weight into the left foot. Start to glide the right foot back, just like we did in tabletop. Nothing moves except the right foot, and try to line up head, hips, and heel. Sweep the arms back and start to pulse the back foot up, and just like in tabletop, we don't want the pelvis to move here. So everything is stationary and just the leg lifts. You're probably feeling a lot of warmth and stabilization in the left leg. That's great. The next time the toes come down, tuck them under and start to bring equal weight into both feet. Circle the left arm forward, up and back. Again, just like we did in table, letting that whole left side open. Take a few circles on your own, and if the left leg is getting fatigued, see if you can bring more weight into the right leg. The next time you circle forward, thread the left arm underneath the right so you start to face me. Stack the hands in our flowing energy fingertips. Squeeze fingertips into one another. Bend the left knee, anchor the left heel, and push down into the left foot to slowly hover the right leg for Ardha Chandrasana. And we'll have a moment to pause, and then we'll repeat that whole thing, flowing a little bit faster. So gently square the hips down, place the back foot down, and shift the weight back so you're standing in Tadasana but heading backwards instead of forwards. Take a moment to pause, absorb, and then trust that your body knows what's about to happen. You don't need to hold on to anything. You can just allow this flow to naturally occur. So this time, shift the weight into the right foot. We're doing the same side, but we're getting into the first pose a little bit differently. Shift the weight into the right foot, lift the left knee, start to twist into the left, and then place the left foot down and take a few bounces, twisting into the leg as you come down and untwisting as you come up. Just letting the body get really springy here. And then the next time the foot comes down, pause there, sweep the arms back, shift forward, and take your leg lifts. We'll just do a couple. And then set the toes down, equal weight in both feet. Keep the left knee bent as you circle left arm forward, up and back. This time we'll just take one spiral and then bring the left arm. Imagine threading it through underneath the right arm. Keep the left big toe down. Keep the left knee wide. Stack the hands and open up into your Ardha Chandrasana. And then one last time. So square down, shift the weight into the right foot. Step the left foot back. Pause in Tadasana, letting that left leg relax. And this is our last repetition. If there's any pose that you would like to hold, you are more than welcome to do so. Otherwise, you can keep it flowing. So we start by shifting weight into right foot, hover the left knee, twist to the left, and take a couple of bounces forward, making sure that the left leg feels very connected to the right leg. So it's probably going to be a very short stance. So the next time you spiral into it, pause there. Equal weight in both feet. Sweep the hands back. Shift weight into the front heel. Hover the back foot. Take one or two leg lifts. And then set the right toes down. Equal weight in both legs. Circle left arm forward, up, and back. Letting any tension dissolve from the left side of the body. Trying to feel as spacious as possible from the left foot all the way up into the left rib cage, left pectoralis muscle, even behind the right ear. And then thread the arm through, stack the hands, flowing energy hands. It's like a circuit created, a big circle from the heart to the fingertips. Stay here as long as you want. You can even play with bouncing in the left leg, making sure you're pliable, supple, resilient. And then place the right foot down, bounce back. Option to pause on one leg or Tadasana. Take a couple of breaths here, and the amazing thing is, even though we've only done it on one side, the other side has learned from that process. And so we'll explore that on the second side. You can go to the final track. Feel free to grab a sip of water. I've been drinking more water lately, and it feels really good. So I need it. Okay. So to keep it symmetrical, we'll walk up to the front of our mat, beginning in chair pose. Shift the weight into the right foot now. Reach the arms back and start to glide the left foot back, unmoving anything else in your body. Take a couple of leg lifts. Pelvis doesn't move. And then set the left toes down, left heel down. Equal weight in both legs. Circle the right arm forward, up and back, letting the right side of the body open. Oh, that was a good moment in the song. Do it a couple of times and try to feel that spaciousness. You're turning into energy. You can beam up to anywhere you want right now. There's nothing dense in your whole body. And the next time you circle, feed the right arm underneath the left. So you're reaching probably towards your side wall. Stack the hands. Anchor right big toe. Let the right knee come nice and wide towards the pinky. And slowly squeeze the hands to create space, activating the top of the core all the way down. Hover the back foot. And then set the toes down and bounce back to the back foot. Set the right foot down. Pause in your Tadasana. Take it in. Hopefully now after doing the second side, there's more of a sense of both of the legs kind of buzzing. Imagine the whole body turning into beams of light, glowing and flowing and traveling, not holding on to anything. Anything is possible in this moment. Now shift the weight into the left foot. Reach the right knee up, twist to the right, and place the right foot down, twisting, and then untwisting. Take a couple of those bounces. This should feel good on the joint, so you don't want to overdo it. Make sure the knee feels supported, springy and light. The next time you twist down, pause there. Equal weight in both feet. Sweep the arms back. Shift the weight into the right heel. Take a couple of leg lifts. And then bring the foot down and circle the arms into that nice spiral. Feed the right arm underneath the left and then stack the hands. Fingertips come to touch. Squeeze the hands together, creating that nice circle of space. Float the left foot whenever you feel up for it. And then set the left foot down. Bounce back to Tadasana. Pause. And just like on the first side, we'll do this one more time. You can pause anywhere the body's enjoying the posture, or you can keep on flowing. And I invite you to let everything go and just allow yourself to be energy traveling through space. Shift the weight into the left foot, lift the right knee, twist to the right, right foot down, take a couple of bounces. Light and springy, less is more. Feel everything unified. Next time you twist, pause there, sweep the arms back, square the body down to the mat, shift the weight into the front heel, leg lift through the back leg. And then back foot comes down, Vira, one legs, but circle the right arm up and back. Letting that right side open. Try to push a little extra into the big toe as you spiral and see if you can feel the spiral coming up into the outer right hip. Feed the right arm through underneath the left. Stack left hand on top of right. And float into your Ardha Chandrasana with your big spacious arms helping support you. You can play with flexing the foot, feeling the femur anchor into the hip socket. Stay here as long as it's useful to you. Breathe. Stay relaxed and springy. And then whenever you're ready, set the left foot down and bounce back to meet it, pausing in Tadasana. Walk forward towards your blocks and step about mat's distance apart with the feet. Come on to the tippy toes for the rocking chair experience, just like we did before. And then set the heels down, reach the hips back, drape the body over the thighs, bring the hands to the blocks. Shift the weight from foot to foot, letting the hips sway. Play with bending the right knee as the hips sway to the right, and then bending the left knee as the hips sway to the left. Notice if the body wants a little more space here. You can certainly walk your feet wider. You just want to make sure that it feels like the legs are integrated towards one another. If you want a little bit more, the next time the left knee bends and the hips sway to the left, walk the blocks over to the right. It's kind of like a standing Parvrita Jana Shirshasana. Breathe into the left side of the body. Breathe into any sensations in the inner thighs. I really enjoy rocking the weight forward into the balls of my feet and then back into the heels. This changes where I feel it in those right adductors. Breathe and relax. And then if you enjoyed that, you can try the same thing on the other side. So right knee bends, hips sway to the right, left leg lengthens, and then walk the blocks as far to the left as feels useful. Stay long through the spine. It gently curves to the left. And then you can gently rock forward and back. You can play with bending and extending the right leg or anything that the body is craving here. You can even walk the right hand over to the outside of the left leg and allow the heart to spiral away from the right knee. Just make sure you're working with your body and not against it. Let's walk the blocks back to center and heel toe the feet in just a little bit so you can lower your hips down all the way to the floor. Turn to face me. Let the legs come wide. Travel to the next track if you're following along with the music, and just start to walk the hands to the side, to the center, to the other side. Let the hips move around so nothing is static here. And make sure there's no pressure in the low back. It's okay if you're leaning back. It's okay if you want to sit on blankets. It's okay if you want to bend the knees. Just explore a gentle circle around the body. And then if you find a place that's really useful, you're welcome to pause there and gently rock a little bit and breathe. And there's no rules, so sometimes exploring here, you might start to travel down onto the forearms, or maybe another arm lifts and the spine rotates. It's really an internal massage guided by your internal sensations. So if you feel something that I'm not cueing, please have fun exploring. And if you need a moment to balance out sides, now is that moment. And make your way back to center and gently come up to neutral and pause there. And soften. Connect to your breath. And then bring the legs in. You can grab your blocks. We're going to make a little makeshift bolster. So with your additional blanket, you can place it on top of your blocks. It is still, depending on your blocks and your blanket, might be still pretty firm. So if you want to put a pillow on there or an additional blanket, you're more than welcome to. And so we're all on the same side. Let's place it over to the left-hand side. At this point, you can pause your music. And we did a lot of spiraling into the front leg. And so now we'll do a gentle restorative version of that, just to help those pathways stay open so we can feel light and spacious and supported. So as you're ready, scoot in towards your bolster. Place one hand to either side of it, and then gently melt the left side of the body to the bolster. Bring the left ear down. Take a moment to bring awareness to the forearms and the elbows, and make sure they feel spacious like they did with our flowing energy hands. I don't recommend bringing the fingertips to touch here, but you can bring the fingertips to the blocks, almost like you're plugging the fingertips into an outlet. Feel the fingertips plug into the blocks, creating that sense of spaciousness in the arms. And then, though we will relax fully here, take a moment to push the left leg down into the earth and just notice what happens in the left hip and the left side of the body when you do that. And then as you release, try to release all of that tension. And you might find that you have a little extra space and you want the body to tilt closer, like the belly button points more downward. You're welcome to do that. The forehead can come down to your props. You can always also fold the blanket over if you want to support the head a little differently. And we'll just take a few moments to let the left side of the body become very spacious without any effort. And we'll be here for one more minute. And as you work with those 5 breaths, I invite you to play with this backwards approach to the breath where you dissolve as you inhale and you become very spacious as you exhale. To exit the pose, gently bring the hands down underneath the shoulders, press into the hands, coming up to center and kick the legs forward. Take one moment in Dandasana and just notice the left side of your body in comparison to the right side without any judgment or expectation, but just take the experience in. And this wasn't planned, but for me right now, the left side really does feel like that beaming up to another place experience. So maybe you feel a lightness, a flow, and then we'll prepare to go to the other side. So you can grab your makeshift bolster or whatever you're using. Place it to the other side and then tuck the legs in so they're to the left side of your hips. And then take your time coming down towards the bolster so the hands gently frame the bolster and make any adjustments with the hips. It's okay if they change angles. Slowly lower to the forearms and then slowly lower the body onto your bolster. I like to bring my right ear down. I find it's just pretty intense to twist the other way. We want this to be pretty gentle. Take a moment to check in with the shoulders and the arms. You're welcome to bring the hands to the block if it feels comforting and spacious, or anything else that you discover. And before we relax completely, start to push the outside of the right leg down into the earth, and notice what engages on the right leg, the right hip, the right obliques, the pelvic floor. Breathe and relax. And then release all of that effort. Feel that right side melting. And as you do that, you might feel like you have more room for rotation, in which case it's totally fine to let the right hip adjust a little bit so the body can come down towards the block in a new way. Gaze wherever is most comfortable on the neck. And as we pause and breathe here, you can breathe however you want. You're welcome to explore dissolving on the inhale and expanding on the exhale. And we'll just take one more minute. That's about 5 or 6 breaths. When you're ready, you can start to push down into the arms, walk the hands in, and eventually take a moment in Dandasana to experience both sides in unison. Notice any sense of lightness or spaciousness you've unearthed. And then we'll head into Shavasana. And so you can set yourself up however you like. I always recommend rolling up a blanket behind the backs of the knees. And as long as we have these blocks, sometimes it can be nice to set the hands on the blocks so that the elbows have a really nice soft bend in them. So you're welcome to try that. And take your time. If you need to put on any layers or dim the lights or grab any other props, it's worth it, and you've got the time. And as you start to relax here, Let the breath be very natural. And see how relaxed and effortless your inhale can be if you can feel that tingling, that possibility that you're not so solid. And then as you exhale, feel that sense of glowing, brighten, that energetic flow illuminates more intensely. Mm. And let yourself relax here and go into the space where anything is possible. Can let go of anything that you're holding on to, anything that feels fixed in your mind, in your body, in who you are. And try to feel that sense of flowing and changing and evolving and growing. It really is the nature of reality. And it's really fun when we can open up to it. And we'll rest here, letting ourselves be immersed in the flow. Let this be an opportunity to feel your body and your breath without any grip, any manipulation. And notice how your ability to observe body and breath comes from a space more expansive than both of those things. We call this the witness state in yoga. And notice how being in that space of observation isn't so concrete, so solid. It's more of that flowing, changing, intangible energy. And trying to maintain your connection to the witness state. Can make gentle movements while observing them. Anything that the body is craving, enjoy the opportunity to have a body. And eventually make your way up to seated, but enjoy that as well. You can take your time and take the scenic route. And so we'll be chanting Saraswati mantra, the same song from the beginning. The words are up here on the screen. Om Aim Saraswatiyai Namaha. And again, this energy is about connecting to the flow. And so all those cues that I gave in class of, letting go of the grip and feeling yourself like those light rays beaming up to another dimension. If you don't know how to do that yet, this mantra can help. So I invite you to repeat this mantra with that intention of feeling the solid parts of you slough off and letting yourself become lighter and freer and more flowing and more infinite, because that is all of our true natures. It's real, and it's at the core of our being and at the core of the universe. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati. Om Aim Saraswati. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati. Om Aim Saraswati. Saraswati Om Saraswati Om Saraswati Namaha. Saraswati Om Saraswati Om Saraswati Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati. Om Aim Saraswati. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. Om Aim Saraswati. Om Aim Saraswati. Saraswati Om Saraswati Om Saraswati Namaha. Saraswati Namaha. Om Saraswati Namaha. Om Saraswati. Om Saraswati. Om Saraswati Namaha. Om Saraswati. Om Saraswati. Saraswati. Om Saraswati. Om Saraswati Namaha. Saraswati. Om Saraswati. Om Saraswati Namaha. Om Saraswati Namaha. Om Saraswati. Om Saraswati. Om Saraswati Namaha. Om Saraswati. Om Saraswati. And even just a few minutes of chanting can help you feel spacious and tingly. And I invite you to relax into whatever your experience is right now. Notice the support provided by your physical body and the balance that you've achieved between finding strength and releasing tension. And from this perfect vessel of the body, notice your effortless breath flow. And notice if it's easier to drop into the breath and feel that ever-flowing nature. And as one breath effortlessly flows into the next, perhaps you can feel how your inner state is also always flowing. And you can let go of anything that's binding you. There really is like a solid nature to the thoughts and worries that can just like sink us like a stone. And when we expand and feel our natural flowing qualities, we just float right up. And those thoughts and worries and problems and fears are all real, but they become so much smaller than our infinite true nature. And so for the next couple of minutes, I invite you to dive into your ever-flowing breath and experience what it's like to release the solid and become one with the flow. And bring your hands to heart center and feel the connection that you've built and deepened through your practice today. Thank you so much for sharing. Namaste. Happy Navaratri, everybody. Hope to see you soon. Aloha.